Firm Flesh Thick Stick. Hi everyone, so I thought I would try out some new stuff with you guys today. I placed an order with Ulta using some rewards points, and I picked up these Firm Flesh Thick Stick foundations, and I have this one in 03 Meringue, which is described as like very pale with yellow undertones. And I also picked up the first shade because I didn't feel like it was 100% clear on the website whether or not this was white or just extremely light. I think we can call that a white. So it looks very slightly off-white. I mean, if you are uber pale, maybe that would work. I'm also trying out this e.l.f. Illuminating Eye Cream. I'm gonna go ahead and put that on. I've used this a couple times, like once at night and once during the day. And since I'm not using much moisture on my face, because most of my face is my dry areas are more like normal right now, and my T-zone is fairly oily, but under my eyes are still pretty dry, so not super dry, but dry enough that I need another layer of moisturizer. And I found that makeup sits pretty well on top of it. So this is described as a foundation, concealer, or in a darker shade, a contour, but it doesn't firm your skin. That's magical thinking. So it says to scribble it on directly and blend with fingers, sponge, or brush. So when I tried this out before I took a shower, my face was kind of wet because I used a makeup wipe, and it blended out really nicely, but then when I did it on my face when it was dry, it did not blend out nicely. So I think this time I'm gonna we'll try just one area with a sponge alone. I might try spraying some Fix Plus on my face if this doesn't blend out easily, because I do have like this really grippy SPF. It leaves my skin kind of feeling like the NARS rubbery packaging. It's really rather odd. Well, from a distance that looks okay. Why can I never get my mirror out before I start this? I don't understand. How long have I been making videos? I think I could get myself together. That looks good. I applied it pretty heavily when I tried it out yesterday. Oops. That is that white shade. Concealer, eh? Maybe we'll try the lighter shade under my eyes or something. A little white head. I don't get blemishes very often nowadays, so that's a little unusual. The only stick foundation that I've used with much frequency is the Anastasia stick foundation, which is pretty dry and kind of tricky to work with. So I will say this does require some effort to blend. I don't think it's going to be as like glidey as like the Hourglass stick foundation, which everybody says is just like an absolute dream to blend. I also picked up the Maybelline Superstay stick foundation in Fair Porcelain, so I might do some swatches of that along with this and like the Superstay and Fair Porcelain in the liquid. See how the colors compare. Cover FX Power Play Foundation in N0, Flesh Thick Stick in Froth, the white, Flesh Thick Stick in 03 Meringue, Maybelline Superstay Stick Foundation in 102 Fair Porcelain, Maybelline Superstay liquid foundation in 102 Fair Porcelain, NARS Sheer Glow in Siberia, Colourpop No Filter Foundation in 05 Fair, Anastasia Stick Foundation in Warm Alabaster, Estee Lauder Double Wear in 1C0 Shell. And whenever I do swatches, I pretty much always put a picture of those swatches. You know what I should have done? I should have used that. I should have used a primer. I don't know what it is about this side of my face. If makeup's gonna sit badly, it's gonna sit badly on that side. I'm tempted to start over with a primer. But then I would have to like redo my skincare, which I absolutely hate doing. This one, the Maybelline one, feels very like, kind of like a silicone-y powder. While this like remains kind of grippy and a little sticky. Whereas the Maybelline one kind of feels like it's already set even when you first put it on. Firm Flesh Thickstick. I mean, what kind of wacky name is that? So what I might do is like a little bit of this and then maybe a little bit of that on top underneath my eyes. I can't wear much under my eyes. I'm hoping the extra moisture under there also will help it kind of blend out. I definitely need a mirror for this. So this foundation is $18. The company is new, but it is a Revlon company. So it's Revlon's kind of foray into the like mid-range, high-end market, and it is prestige on Ulta site. So unless you have a coupon that applies to prestige, this will not be eligible for coupons. Really weird. It's like I have little chunks of something. I don't know if it's from the foundation or my SPF. It seems unlikely that it's from my skincare, because I'm using the same old stuff I always do. Let's see if I can build up a little bit on my nose. So if you are the fairest of the fair, I don't think this will be light enough. I don't understand. Yeah, still feeling kind of tacky. I'm gonna use some of the RCMA no color powder, because that can take away tackiness without making it without making it dry feeling. And since my cheeks are like normal to dry, usually dry, they're a little bit closer to normal at the moment, I think. Probably still a little dry, since powder can make them feel dry pretty quickly. Yeah, I can't deal with that level of tackiness. I cannot deal when my hair sticks, because that makes my face itchy. Oh, I bet I'm looking cakey. It's like I feel like I've crossed the line. Doesn't look bad actually, surprisingly. I just look pretty matte. It's I'll just kind of take the moist but no product beauty blender over to really kind of get that powder to pick up any excess powder. Alright, so a little bit of like an inadvertent wear test. I've been wearing one eye of makeup for about 3.5 hours, maybe 4 hours. My 3-month-old is having some issues. Poor little guy. He was having difficulty breathing last night. So trying to, you know, help his airways. I went ahead and did one eye off camera before, right after I did my foundation. So I'm using the Urban Decay Naked palette in conjunction with this BH Cosmetics Foil Eyes 28 color palette. So I have liked the Naked palette for a long time. It's been one of those kind of perennial favorites, though I haven't been wearing it as much lately, but it's one I can always go back to. So I'm just taking Naked in the crease to kind of set up my crease to start. I did prime my eyes with the Lorac Behind the Scenes Eye Primer. Lately I've been using concealer to prime my eyes, because that, you know, has the added benefit of also kind of muting my freckles and veins and discoloration, etc. But today I decided I wanted to get like the best performance I could out of my shadows, so I decided to just go ahead and use a real eye primer. So on the lid I'm using Smog, which is kind of like a I don't know, I would call it a dark bronze maybe. It's not a super dark shade, it's probably like a mid-tone in the grand scheme of things. On me it looks pretty dark. And I was going to use the Sleek Vintage Romance palette. There is this really pretty bronze in there that doesn't go orangey on me, and so many kind of bronzy shades just go so orange on my face. But I decided I would use Smog because it's a little deeper, it is a little bit warmer. But what I was inspired by was this marketing promo picture that Colourpop did for their Mar palette, I think. And it was like very super bronzy, and then with a little pop of kind of teal, because that palette has like 3 bluey shades in it. So what I ended up doing, I kind of went around and mixed colors until I got the look I was looking for, and I feel like it gets a little bit better over time because it looks, I don't know, it just gets a little grungier looking. So it's not so stark of the blue, and it kind of blends in with the bronze a bit more. So I initially went in with this color on my lid, and I just applied that with my finger, which gave me a little bit more payoff than I was wanting. See how like bright blue that is? And I wasn't really looking to be like super distinctly like a stripe of blue. I wanted it to almost have like a duochrome kind of effect. So then I just kind of went back and forth, like blending Smog into it, and then it would get a little faded. So then I put, with a brush, I put the shade above it on top, which is a little bit more of like a sea foam kind of color. It adds a little bit more dimension, I think, because it's a little more reflective. That initial blue color isn't super shimmery. It is a shimmer shade, but it's not super reflective. And so that kind of gave me that, like, is this a duochrome shadow, or is this just like shadow placement effect, which is what I was after. And then I believe I also took Buck from the Naked palette, which is the other matte shade, which is a little bit more of a medium brown shade. And just kind of deepened up the crease a tiny bit. Not a whole lot. I did tight line with the Urban Decay Whiskey liner. And I'm actually doing my lower waterline as well, which I never do. But I thought, why not go a little more dramatic? And then I just took that same brush. Unfortunately, this brush is discontinued because it was part of the Sonia Kashuk line. Keep bringing up old Sonia Kashuk stuff that you can't get anymore. It's nice because it's similar to a 217, except it's a little bit more stiff. It's a really nice brush. I wonder if it even says, oh, it's a number 7. So if you have it in your collection, maybe pull it out. If you see it on eBay, why not? Glambot, somewhere like that. And then I also took Smog, the bronzier shade, down on my lower lash line where I had smudged that liner, just to make it kind of shiny and a little bit messy looking. Like my eyes have been watering or something. And I also took just a tiny bit of Half Baked, which has, oh, there it is, always been one of my favorite colors in this palette. Because it's just like such a pretty gold. It's kind of like the Lorac Pro palette, the gold shade called Gold. In that palette, also super pretty. Alright. And since I've done this like 4 hours apart, it's like trying to remember and duplicate. I feel like the blue is a little bit less intense on this eye. So I'm just gonna kind of go back and forth and brighten it up a little bit. I'm a big fan of this eyeshadow placement. I feel like it can have such a big impact and a way to incorporate color in a slightly different way that isn't like so overwhelming because it's not on your entire eye, it's just in the middle there. And since my eye shape doesn't really lend itself to doing kind of a winged shape to it, I feel like it kind of embraces the more rounded shape that I have. I'm a fan. So I'm gonna put on some mascara and I need to do my brows. I've got this itty bitty sample of Urban Decay Troublemaker. I did not realize that it was gonna be one of these rubber bristly spiky wands. My hair has started to fall from being like 3.5 months postpartum. Not a fun time, man. But since my eyebrows actually have some substance because I colored them really well last time, shouldn't be as much of a hassle trying to draw them in, and it won't be so noticeable. This is a little bit warmer tone than I like. I'm gonna use the Colourpop Brow Boss Gel, which I liked at first, but then I realized it doesn't really have that great of hold for me. And I have very long, droopy brow hairs that like to just hang down to literally my crease. So I need a pretty strong brow gel. And this one, if you put it in and then you kind of tap it down, it really feels like soap brows, where it feels like it's really glued to your face. But I have found that it does not last. Soap brows last all day in my experience, and this does not for me at all. It's like a couple hours and I feel the brows are not where I put them anymore. So just kind of with the bronzy theme, I'm gonna go for a little bit of a bronzy-ish blush, and this is the Tarte Blush in Insightful, which I got in a little set of their like athleisure products, which is on sale right now for $17, I believe. And it has their dry shampoo, a little deodorant, this blush, and a glossy lip paint. I'm gonna use the Hourglass Ambient Strobe Metallic Strobe Lighting Palette. Such a impossible to remember name for me. So I have to be careful with it because it can get a little intense. This is just an up and up brush from Target. I think I'll go for just the center kind of gold shade. I find that since these don't have a ton of color to them, I can just kind of mix them all together and it's fine. But I do believe I get a little bit different of a look if I use just the gold shade. Oh, there's totally like blue-green fallout. This is what happens. I get everything else that I like and then I'm totally unhappy with my lip situation. I'll just go in with this gloss by itself. So I'm gonna just zoom in so you can see what the foundation is doing. So you can see here, settling into my lines a little bit. There, I think more on this side. And then on my chin, see it's starting to get a little patchy looking, which is not unusual. Happens to me with a good number of foundations, and I am definitely going to try it out with a primer that works well for me right now, which is the Urban Decay Optical Illusion Primer, and I also want to test that against the Revlon Photo Ready Pore Reducing Primer to see if this is a similar, works for me in a similar way as the Urban Decay Optical Illusion. So I showed you swatches of this plus some other things, and I do think that this flesh color of Meringue is a pretty good color for me. It's not quite, I was hoping, I'm always hoping that something is going to be as yellow as the NARS Sheer Glow, because this is such a good color for me, a good undertone for me, and it's, I just have never come across anything that's as light as this, but as yellow. And that yellow really helps cancel out the redness in my face, and it goes well with my undertones. And like my hands are a similar like lightness and color as my neck, so that's why I'm always looking to see how it looks against my hands. It's not as pink as so many things I've been using lately are, because so many things look kind of pinkish on me. Even if it's like a neutral undertone, because I don't wear it at like full coverage, and so the pink in my skin will really get enhanced by that undertone that's not yellow enough. So for me to wear medium coverage, I feel like I really like to medium coverage. It really works out best for me if I can get something that has really strong yellow undertones to it, but there just aren't a lot of really fair options that really have strong yellow undertones. So I think that's it for this video. I just really wanted to try out this Flesh Thickstick foundation, and I'm definitely intrigued. I will be trying it again some more and trying it with different primers. There's so many YouTube videos out there for foundation of first impressions, but I feel like that's not useful to me, just because so many foundations maybe don't work the first time, or they work okay the first time, but then they are terrible every other time I try to wear them. I've had that happen more often than you would think. And so I really feel like it's worth trying a lot of different ways, different primers, powder, no powder, you know. I want to try a lot of different things, because especially if it's a color and like lightness that I like, I want to find a way to make it work on my face. And that's why I've been so stymied by the Colourpop foundation, because even with my best primer, my best powder, and like my best skincare, I still only get like mediocre performance out of it at best. So that can be really frustrating. But so far, this one, it definitely is lining up with what I was expecting, because it does feel like it's not something that dries down and sets, and it's not that kind of powder finish like the Maybelline Superstay. It just remains kind of tacky feeling, so it has a little bit more moisture to it, and that's why I set it with the RCMA color powder. And I think next time I'll try a primer, and I also will try using the loose setting powder from Laura Mercier, because if I need something that really is going to set very well, I get much better performance out of that than the RCMA, which is what I like to use like on my dry areas because I know it's not going to dry it out, as opposed to the Laura Mercier will dry out my dry spots. So anyway, I think that's everything. I hope the swatches were helpful in case you were thinking about buying one of those new stick foundations, and hopefully it helped clear up this Froth shade, which it says white, but then it also says Alabaster, and it's like, is it white? Is it actually white, or is it just like an extremely pale whitish foundation color? I mean, hopefully we can tell. It's pretty much white, but I don't think it's totally white. It's kind of like off-white. Anyway, I gotta get going here. Whew, you only get 4.6 grams. That seems small even for a stick foundation. Yeah. You get 9 grams in the Anastasia, just FYI. And how much do you get in this Maybelline? I'm guessing not much. 7 grams. So you get more in the Maybelline, less than the Anastasia, but more than the Flush. And so that's good to know. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions, comments, whatever. I love to hear from you guys. If you want to see more foundation videos, stuff about pale skin, you know, my experiences, freckles, what have you, please do subscribe if you aren't already. And I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.